Difficulty settings are commonplace in several video games, but they were never really a prominent thing in Pikmin. Despite how popular the idea was, they were only ever implemented into Pikmin 3 Deluxe. This video will cover how difficulty options could be executed in future Pikmin games and how Nintendo failed to make them impactful in Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe for high quality Pikmin videos weekly. Before Pikmin 3 Deluxe came out, difficulty options were a highly suggested idea, and it makes sense. Difficulty options have a lot of potential to appeal to new and old players. Easier difficulties could be added for newcomers to the franchise so that they aren't overwhelmed with difficulty, and harder difficulties could be added for Pikmin veterans so that they can enjoy the games more. This feature obviously seems like a no-brainer, and Nintendo must have agreed, as when they ported Pikmin 3 to the Switch, difficulty options were added to the port and were advertised as a defining feature of this release. Now this is huge. A highly requested feature is finally being added to the easiest Pikmin game. This will add a much needed level of challenge. Hopefully Nintendo won't butcher this. I mean, they obviously won't. They have a very good track record when it comes to porting Pikmin games. Pikmin 3 Deluxe launched with 3 difficulty options: normal, hard, and ultra spicy, and they already fucked something up. These difficulties are labelled very unclearly. Hard is the same difficulty as the Wii U version, and normal is an easier version when compared to the Wii U version. A lot of people got confused and thought that normal would be the same difficulty as the Wii U version and that hard would be harder. The difficulty should have been labelled as easy and normal to help avoid confusion. I'm guessing the reason they didn't call the easy difficulty easy is because they thought to be like shaming players or something. The easier difficulty does make a good job at making the game easier. Enemies have much less health and days are longer. But most people aren't here for the easy difficulty, they're here for the brand new hard difficulty, ultra spicy mode. Finally, I much need to boost the difficulty to Pikmin 3. This will be great. It's easy as shit. The ultra spicy difficulty is about as spicy as concrete. Despite the game hyping it up as a hard to stomach difficulty intended only for those who consider themselves Pikmin connoisseurs, the actual difficulty mode is pathetically easy and majorly disappointing. First of all, when I hear people discuss the changes between the difficulty options, a lot of people talk about how days are shorter in ultra spicy. However, this is false. The time limit is the same as the Wii U version and the default difficulty. Pretty strange, as you think this would have been changed to make the game harder, but it's not the end of the world. One of the biggest disappointments for me is that the enemy layouts are the exact same from the original game. You'd think a harder difficulty would add more harder enemies, but they didn't even do that. This is especially disappointing since there are several enemies that only appear once in the main campaign that had the opportunity to show up a lot more in this increased difficulty mode. The first time I played this mode, I was really looking forward to see how they would reimagine the maps with different enemies, but as I played, I was just hit with the ever-growing feeling of disappointment. Another change made is that enemies were given more HP, which you'd think would be a good thing, but the amount given is extremely minuscule, to the point where you probably won't even notice it. Some enemies don't even have their health change at all. Some enemies were also nerfed from the Wii U version, most notably the armoured Maudad, whose hands used to take several hits to destroy in the Wii U version, but in the Switch version it only takes one rock Pikmin hit. This completely neutralizes him and turns the fight into an absolute joke, along with you already having a bigger advantage as the Pikmin move quicker in the Switch version. Juice output is halved in Ultra Spicy. This does sound like a big change, but it really has no effect. The juice output was already extremely generous in the normal difficulty, so having that doesn't have that much effect. You'll still be able to easily build up a large buffer of days. There are other smaller changes that do increase the difficulty, like a harsher drowning time towards Pikmin and no eggs in the Forest of Hope. While these are nice, they aren't nearly enough to make the game as hard as it needs to be. Due to the lack of any substantial changes, this mode plays almost exactly the same as the default difficulty. There is one major change though, and that is that you can only have 60 Pikmin on the field. However, due to the lack of any major difficulty changes elsewhere, the difficulty options are basically just a choice of, do I want to play with 100 Pikmin or 60 Pikmin? The 60 Pikmin limit might sound like it would make the game harder, but it really just makes the game more tedious. These difficulty options were a major letdown from what we were expecting. They barely added any difficulty at all and really just made the game more tedious to play through. All of the changes really just made the game go by slower, which usually just makes you want to play the normal difficulty instead. And when one of the most majorly marketed parts of your game just makes it worse, is that really a good thing? This is a commonly shared opinion, with even Arlo saying that the difficulty options were his biggest letdown with the port. After Pikmin 3 Deluxe, we have Pikmin 4. For this game, Nintendo has the opportunity to add back difficulty options and improve upon them. This is very likely, as Pikmin 4 is bringing back loads of features from previous games, so it only makes sense that they would bring difficulty options back. They didn't. Pikmin 4 removed difficulty options, which is a shame. Despite their poor execution, they still were on the right track by including them at all, even if they fumbled the bag. Pikmin 4 is another unnecessarily easy Pikmin game that could have done with some more difficulty, but unfortunately Nintendo just swept the idea under the rug and tried to pretend it never happened. What would a properly executed difficulty increase look like? We can find the answer to that question in Pikmin 3 True Spice, a by Gunna the Hun that does what the ultra spicy difficulty should have done. There are brand new enemy layouts for each map, the juice system is far less forgiving and actually adds some time pressure to the game, something that was absent in Pikmin 3. A lot of enemies were completely reworked and had massive AI changes, which turns them from press X to win into actual forces to be reckoned with. There are several other changes made to the game in this mod, and it's probably one of the best mods in the Pikmin community. I will probably make a full-length review on it at some point. This mod really showcases what increased difficulty modes can be at their best. Despite difficulty setting's short and rocky history in the Pikmin franchise, I really think Nintendo should reattempt this idea for Pikmin 5 or for an update for Pikmin 4. This is an extremely good way at appealing to more fans of the series, and it would be better to at least attempt them again instead of just pretending like it never happened. I feel like they will eventually return, they're too popular not to, and I feel like that they will be executed better at some point. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to become a true Pikmin connoisseur.